Hello, my name is Harvey D. Norris. I'm the inventor of the Flux Capacitor. And believe it or not, the Flux Capacitor isn't a figment of some movie maker's imagination. It is a real thing, and it can be shown to distort time. The Flux Capacitor will be a major component in resurrecting the Nazi Bell experiments. And in fact, when we do these demonstrations, we're going to show at the end of the demonstrations the concept of what needs to be done to replicate the Nazi Bell experiment in some respects. But we're going to leave you a little bit of clue. We're going to leave items out. We're going to leave people guessing, because it would appear to be that best policy for me is to withhold information. So I have to dole out this information piecemeal. Now, to monitor the situation for the flux capacitor, the flux capacitor is the high induction coil, a 60.5 Henry high induction coil with a water capacitor placed in its core. Now, to monitor and prove that the flux capacitor itself distorts time, we have to employ, I think it is a total of 6 on top, 6 in the middle, and 6 on the bottom, 18 meters. Now, we're not going to turn the machine on in this video. I don't think we'll have time to, since we have to schedule things out in 10-minute portions in order to put it on YouTube. And of course, it's questionable whether I even want to put it on YouTube. And I sort of feel obligated to do that, since I'm the founder of the Tesla research group, known as Teslafy Yahoo group. And right now I haven't got 2 pennies to rub together. And in fact, several circumstances have evolved whereby I feel that I'm being cheated by the United States government and the state of Ohio. And what we'll do is we'll just pack our bags up and move this thing to Serbia and come full circle. We put it in the Nikola Tesla Museum in Belgrade, pending financial restitution. We can offer it to the Russians too, or the Germans, whoever wants to pay the highest price. First of all, we got to go into the fact that I do have some secrets, and I am withholding information. But I am going to dole out information, and we're going to let the observers determine for themselves what the information I'm withholding is. Now we'll go back and look at the history of the flux capacitor. And this was posted almost 2 years ago on the internet, when I had funds to have a cable internet. Right now, as I will bitch again, I don't even have a telephone. I don't have cable TV. I don't have internet. So I haven't put any YouTubes up, folks. That's why. That's a real pain. And a certain arrangement of the laws has prevented me from retrieving $50,000 some dollars to continue my research. So we can see why there's other agents in the world. The United States government has caused this problem. There's other governments in the world that can and will help me. This was posted to classmates.com in December 23rd, 2008, and it describes the flux capacitor principle, and we'll go over there and read that if you can't read it. What have you done that none of us would believe? I have discovered how to demonstrate the principle of time distortion. I am building the flux capacitors. Can time itself be distorted in a way other than how Einstein predicted this by relativity? I have discovered this process that converts time into voltage. It involves creating resonant voltage rises themselves separated in time within a cycle of the same frequency from a three-phase generator, where each phase has a voltage rise beyond their respective voltage inputs, and then measuring the relative voltages between the resonated phases. To explain this to the layman initially requires the following question. I'm going on a long journey on planet Earth, where after traveling so far I turn at a right angle. I should have to do this 3 times to make a total square for each equal length of journey in one direction. After arriving at the 3rd corner, I am astounded to find that I prematurely arrived back to the point where I started the journey. How far should I travel on each length before this occurs? This 3D journey is from the equator to the pole, to the equator again, and back across the lateral equator line. What was done was to superimpose a 2-dimensional triangle on the 3-dimensional curved surface of a sphere. The Euclidean laws of geometry tell us that the interior's angles of a triangle add to 180 degrees. But those laws only apply to the flat 2-dimensional picture, and when the same triangle is superimposed to a curved surface of a sphere, we find that the interior angles now can add to excess of 180 degrees, and in fact in this analogy I had expanded those angles 50% greater than what they could ordinarily be to make a triangle have the same interior angles that a flat square would have. Now, the way electricity is created and used, you have 3 phases. Separated in time. There are 120 degrees between each phase, and no matter how many phases are used in the polyphase system, all these phase angles add to 360 degrees when each is compared to the others. What I've been able to procure is a method of creating these timings of voltages between themselves so that when added together sum to greater than the 360 degrees of a circle. I have demonstrated this up to 440 degrees. Essentially, I'm obtaining more voltage between the points of reference than can possibly exist in our conception of 3 dimensions, or essentially converted time into voltage rise, where we should then suppose, by analogy, that a 3-dimensional reference has been stretched into the hypothetical next one. 2009 flux capacitor model with some internet references down here. Those are the internet references I've placed on Flickr. And this, in fact, is a resurrection of that work, which had to be torn apart. The flux capacitor is a spatially interacted electrical resonance. Resonance is the balancing of magnetic and electric fields to contain equal field energies, where expression of this energy uses a coil for the magnetic field and a capacitor for the electric field energy. Normally, these 2 different field energies exist in separate space, and because they oscillate, they also exist in separate timings, whereby when one field is full, the other is empty. The first premise of the flux capacitor is to construct a device whereby the vessels containing each energy expression themselves can exist in the same space at right angles, thereby creating a third reaction force to be obtained in the remaining third angle in space, here to be obtained by the non-magnetic stainless steel rods protruding from the water capacitor. The aim here is to split the water molecule into oxygen and hydrogen fuel with a minimal amount of energy. 2 90-degree phased flux caps can share timing of field energy, which is the goal of these endeavors, where the magnetic field from one resonance can be spatially interacted with a concurrent electric field from another separately phased resonance.